Have you ever wondered how a single fleeting moment, an unexpected encounter, could turn everything you thought you knew about your family upside down? For Claire Dawson, that moment arrived on a stormy morning at Benny's Café. The scent of burnt toast and cheap coffee still lingered in the air as Claire, her apron stained by countless rushed breakfasts, tightened her grip around the coffee pot. Her heart pounded, not from the usual morning rush, but from the piercing, icy gaze of the man sitting across from her. He wasn't a regular customer. No, there was something in his unsettling calm that seemed to freeze the entire room. He slid an envelope across the worn-out stone table toward Claire, his lips curling into a cold, sinister smile. "Don't say I didn't warn you," he said in a low, menacing voice. Claire hesitated. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the envelope, her mind racing with questions that had no answers. Slowly, she opened it. Inside was a photograph, a ghost from the past staring back at her. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her father, Thomas Dawson, was smiling in the picture, his arm wrapped around a woman Claire had only ever seen on financial news channels and the covers of prestigious magazines. Isabella Mercer, the renowned billionaire. What was her father doing with Isabella Mercer? Claire's throat went dry, her heartbeat thundering in her chest. This couldn't be real. This connection was far beyond anything she had ever known about her hard-working, humble father. "Where did you get this photo?" Claire burst out, her voice tight with tension and disbelief. The man simply chuckled, his eyes glinting with malice. "You've only scratched the surface, Miss Dawson. The truth is far more tangled than you can imagine." With that, he stood up and walked out of the cafe, leaving Claire frozen in place, the photograph clutched in her hands, her mind spiraling into a storm of unanswered questions. What Claire didn't know was that this was only the beginning of a journey that would push her to her very limits and unravel secrets buried so deep she had never dared to imagine they existed. There are dreams so beautiful that, even when buried beneath the dust of time and the weight of life's daily struggles, we simply cannot let them go. For Claire Dawson, Dawson's Delight was never just an ordinary bakery. It was the symbol of her happiest days, back when her father, Thomas Dawson, was still alive. Mornings spent in their tiny kitchen, his calloused hands kneading dough with love, the warm laughter blending with the aroma of freshly baked bread. Claire once made a promise to her father: "I will open my own bakery so that everyone can feel the warmth of the bread, just like you always made it, Dad." But life isn't always as gentle as the sweet scent of bread drifting on the breeze. Claire's father passed away suddenly in an accident in Boston back in 2005, leaving her mother, Margaret, drowning in grief and illness. Chronic lung disease forced her to rely on an oxygen tank day and night. Claire shouldered everything: rent, medical bills, and daily expenses. In their cramped little apartment in Brooklyn Heights, Claire sat at the worn-out kitchen table, carefully jotting down every expense in a frayed notebook. Rent, $1,500. Medication for her mother, $600. Utilities, $100. Groceries, $80. The cold, unforgiving numbers weighed heavily on her fragile shoulders. By day, Claire worked at Benny's Café, where burnt toast and watery coffee were the norm. The waitress's wages were barely enough to keep her afloat. She had to set aside her dream of Dawson's Delight, tucking it away into the deepest corner of her heart. Yet every time she passed by a little bakery on the street, Claire found herself pausing. A bittersweet mix of regret and unyielding determination stirred within her. Even as life pushed her to the edge, a quiet fire continued to burn inside her. One day, I will make this dream come true. Little did anyone know that very fire was about to ignite an extraordinary journey. Fate sometimes knocks at your door in the strangest of ways. That day, the rain was still falling in icy sheets, mirroring the heavy weight in Claire's heart. Benny's cafe buzzed with its usual noise, the clatter of dishes, the grumbling of customers, and Benny's constant barking of orders from behind the counter. Claire quietly weaved between the cramped tables, one hand carrying coffee, the other jotting down orders, doing her best to keep her weary smile from fading completely. Her legs had gone numb after hours of standing, but Claire knew stopping was never an option. Then, the cafe door suddenly swung open, the bell jingling like an omen. A woman stepped inside, her icy presence cutting through the cafe's stifling air. A navy blue suit hugged her powerful frame, and her platinum hair swept back into a sharp, elegant bun. A diamond necklace sparkled at her neck, and her piercing gaze swept through the humble diner with a sharp, discerning glint. Claire froze, the coffee pot trembling slightly in her hand. This woman did not belong to the world of Benny's Cafe, a place sustained by cheap coffee and bare-bones meals. "Welcome to Benny's, ma'am. What can I get for you?" Claire spoke up, trying to keep her voice steady. "Black coffee, eggs Benedict, make it quick," the woman commanded, her voice snapping like a whip. Claire jotted down the order, curiosity stirring within her. Who was this woman? A high-profile lawyer? A powerful executive? When the meal was ready, Claire placed the plate on the table with a practiced smile. "Enjoy your meal, ma'am." The woman gave a slight nod, her eyes briefly scanning Claire, but in that fleeting moment, Claire felt as if the gaze had pierced right through her soul. About 20 minutes later, Claire returned with the bill in hand. "That'll be $15.20, ma'am." The woman paid with a $20 bill and slid over an additional $1 note. Claire frowned slightly. A $1 tip for a meal like this? But as she went to pocket the bill, she noticed something strange. On the worn dollar note, someone had written in black ink, "Call me." Alongside it was a phone number. Claire's heart skipped a beat. Was this some kind of joke or a secret message? That night, after her mother had fallen asleep, Claire sat at the kitchen table, turning the bill over in her hands. Her eyes filled with hesitation and wonder. Curiosity gnawed at her. She dialed the number. "It's me," came the cool voice on the other end. "The woman from Benny's Cafe." Claire swallowed hard. "Yes, this is Claire. You left your number on the tip. Meet me, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, 742 Fifth Avenue, 42nd floor. Don't be late." The line went dead. Only the cold, empty tone echoed in Claire's mind. She stared at the phone, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. Tomorrow, everything could change forever. The next morning, Claire stood frozen before the towering skyscraper on Fifth Avenue. She huddled in her worn-out coat, her scuffed shoes feeling out of place amid the sea of elegantly dressed people. The magnificent building reflected the morning sunlight, leaving her both awestruck and feeling smaller than ever. "It's just a meeting," she told herself, taking a deep breath to summon her courage. "I have nothing to lose." The 42nd floor felt like an entirely different world. Gleaming marble floors, crystal chandeliers sparkling like frozen stars on the ceiling. Seated behind an imposing desk was the woman from the day before, Isabella Mercer. Her gaze was as sharp as a razor's edge, her lips curled into an unreadable smile. "Sit." Isabella gestured toward the leather chair in front of her. Claire obeyed, her hands clasping tightly together to conceal her anxiety. I observed you yesterday, Isabella began, her voice calm yet commanding. I saw something in you that money can't buy. Resilience and determination. Claire hesitated, barely able to believe what she was hearing. Thank you, ma'am, but why did you notice me? Isabella narrowed her eyes slightly, then leaned forward. I have a proposition. I will help you open Dawson's Delight, the bakery you've always dreamed of. I will invest in the location, the equipment, and the staff, but in return, you must own this project entirely. No one else. You will make every decision, from the recipes to the day-to-day operations. Claire was stunned, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and doubt. Why me? She whispered, as if afraid that speaking too loudly might shatter the miracle unfolding before her. Isabella offered a mysterious smile. Call it my intuition, or perhaps an old debt that needs to be repaid. Either way, I do not offer help without reason. I do not tolerate failure. Prove to me that you deserve this chance. As she spoke, Isabella slid a folder toward Claire, containing the address of a potential location and an initial business plan for Dawson's Delight. Claire accepted it, a strange tide of emotions rising within her, a spark of hope mixed with an uneasy fear about the true cost of this offer. Before Claire could ask any further questions, Isabella rose from her chair, her gaze freezing the very air around them. Seize this opportunity, Claire Dawson. Don't let me down. Claire left the building, clutching the folder tightly to her chest. She knew, from this moment on, her life would never be the same. What she didn't know was that the shadows of the past were still waiting to rise again. Not long after Claire began laying the groundwork for Dawson's Delight, the first challenges came swiftly, like a storm, brewing silently beneath the surface of the sea. By day, Claire worked tirelessly alongside the construction crew, and by night, she stayed by her mother's side. In the late hours, she buried herself in bread and pastry recipes, her hands cracked and sore from endless trials and errors. She refused to allow herself even a moment of weakness because Dawson's Delight was no longer just a dream. It was the lifeline for both her and her mother. And then Victor Kane appeared. He strode into the half-finished shop as if he owned the place. Dressed in a sleek black suit, his hair slicked back, a sly, calculating smirk playing on his lips. He was the real estate tycoon who owned most of the neighborhood, and Claire quickly realized that to Victor, Dawson's Delight was nothing more than a juicy morsel waiting to be devoured. Miss Dawson, Victor drawled, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the unfinished counter. You have no idea who you're dealing with. This location is prime real estate. Sell it to me now, before you bury yourself under a mountain of debt. Claire held his gaze, her eyes steady and unwavering. Not for sale. Dawson's Delight is mine, and it will open. Victor let out a cold chuckle, his eyes like frozen steel. We'll see about that, young lady. Soon after, trouble came crashing down in waves. Construction materials were delayed, workers were quitting without explanation, and suppliers were canceling orders at the last minute. Every sign pointed to Victor Kane, pulling the strings from the shadows. Claire confided in Benny, the cafe owner where she had once worked, one of the few friends who had always silently cheered her on. Claire, you've got guts, Benny said, sliding a strong cup of coffee toward her. Don't let that snake sink his fangs into you. If anyone can turn this around, it's you. Those words ignited a fresh wave of determination in Claire. She tightened her grip on the folder containing her business plans, vowing to herself that she would never let Victor Kane steal Dawson's Delight. Not ever. But she also knew the real battle was just beginning, and Victor wasn't going to back down easily. The grand opening of Dawson's Delight was fast approaching, but instead of excitement, Claire lived in a constant state of dread. Victor Kane's underhanded attacks were becoming more vicious by the day. Deliveries arrived short, ingredient orders were cancelled at the last moment, and the construction crew slowly abandoned the project with suspicious excuses. Claire was exhausted, but a faint light still burned within her. She spent sleepless nights poring over her father's old bread recipes, clinging to those warm memories as a shield against the cold reality. "I can't stop," she whispered to herself, repeating it like a mantra through the endless nights. Then, on the eve of the grand opening, Claire suffered the most devastating blow yet. The sound of shattering glass tore through the silent night. Claire rushed to the bakery, her heart racing wildly, only to find utter devastation. The front window smashed to pieces, shards of glass scattered across the floor. Amid the wreckage lay a heavy brick with a scrap of paper crudely taped to it, bearing a chilling message. Last chance. Claire's knees nearly buckled, tears streaming down her cheeks. But then her father's image rose in her mind. His gentle smile, the weekends he spent teaching her how to knead dough, her mother's hopeful gaze whenever Claire spoke of Dawson's Delight. Claire wiped away her tears, standing tall, with a newfound determination burning in her eyes. "No one," she declared, "not even Victor Kane, will take this dream away from me." The next morning, weary and bruised but unbroken, Claire returned to the bakery to repair the damage. As she cleared away the final shards of glass, an envelope suddenly slipped under the door. Her heart tightened. There was no return address, only an old photograph inside. In the photo, her father, Thomas Dawson, stood beside Isabella Mercer, but this time they were at a hospital. He was holding Isabella's hand tightly, his eyes filled with an extraordinary tenderness, as if offering comfort. On the back of the photo were just 3 words: Boston, 2005. Claire felt her heart clench. Boston, 2005. The year her father had the terrible accident her mother had spoken of. But why was Isabella Mercer there in such an intimate moment? Why would she, a billionaire, take such a deep personal interest in Claire, far beyond that of an ordinary investor? Claire's instincts screamed that the answers were finally within reach, and she made up her mind. When Dawson's Delight opened its doors, when the big day arrived, she would confront Isabella Mercer face to face and demand the truth. What Claire didn't know was that the truth would shatter everything she thought she knew about her world. The morning of Dawson's Delight's grand opening had finally arrived. Spring sunlight streamed through the newly replaced window, casting warm beams across the counter, filled with golden loaves of bread and sugar-dusted pastries that sparkled in the light. The rich aroma of yeast filled the air, rekindling the hope that had never flickered out in Claire's heart. Customers began pouring in, far more than Claire had ever dared to dream. Benny came too, beaming with pride as he saw the bustling bakery. Even her mother, Margaret, had managed to sit up in her wheelchair to witness her daughter's big day. But all eyes seemed to gravitate toward one person: Isabella Mercer. The billionaire stepped into Dawson's Delight in a pristine white suit, her face carrying its usual cold poise. Yet, as she cut the ceremonial ribbon, there was a rare glimmer of pride in her eyes. Claire knew this was the moment she could no longer delay. After the applause faded, Claire pulled Isabella aside to a quiet corner of the bakery. Her hand gripped the photo tightly, the one with just 3 words: Boston, 2005. "Ms. Mercer," Claire began, her voice thick with emotion yet firm with resolve. I need to know the truth. What did my father do for you? Why have you helped me so much? For the first time, the icy mask on Isabella's face seemed to melt. She sighed deeply, her eyes reflecting a hidden sorrow. Boston that year, Isabella began, her voice lowering. I was in a terrible car accident caused by a drunk driver. The car caught fire, and no one dared to approach. No one, except your father. Thomas Dawson ran straight into the flames and pulled me out when I had almost given up hope. He saved my life, Claire, and the price he paid was an injury he never recovered from. Her voice caught in her throat. When he passed away, I swore I would find his family and repay that debt of gratitude. And when I saw you, working at Benny's Café with that unyielding fire in your eyes, I knew I had found you. Claire stood frozen, her heart clenched tight, tears streaming down her cheeks. But just then, Victor Kane stormed in, his face flushed with rage, waving a sheet of paper for all to see. Dawson's Delight is in violation of building codes. I have the authority to shut this place down immediately. A ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. Claire's face went pale. Would all her efforts collapse in an instant? Isabella stepped forward, her voice as sharp as a blade slicing through the tension. No, Victor, she said, pulling a thick folder from her handbag. I own this entire block. Dawson's Delight's construction permits were approved last week. Your petty games end here. Victor fell silent, his face drained of color, before storming out amid the murmurs of the crowd. Claire looked at Isabella, her heart swelling with gratitude and admiration. Today was not just a victory for Dawson's Delight. It was proof of courage and the power of profound gratitude. And above all, Claire realized that the flame her father had ignited all those years ago now blazed fiercely within her own heart. Time quietly passed after the emotional grand opening. Dawson's Delight not only survived the storm, but emerged stronger than ever. The little bakery on the corner of Brooklyn Heights now gleamed with the golden hues of freshly baked bread, sugar-dusted pastries, and the irresistible aroma wafting through the neighborhood. Customers kept pouring in, more and more each day. Locals found in Dawson's Delight not just a place to enjoy pastries, but a warm and welcoming home. Stories of resilience and love spread across the neighborhood, drawing people closer together. Claire, her apron still dusted with flour, beamed with satisfaction as she watched the long line of customers waiting for their bread. Every loaf, every pastry, was no longer just a product. It was a living legacy of her father's love, of Isabella's quiet support, and of her own indomitable spirits. Isabella Mercer would occasionally stop by, silently observing Claire from a distance, as if she could still see the reflection of the man who had once saved her life. Whenever their paths crossed, no words were needed, just a knowing nod between them, and they both understood they were continuing a journey that had yet to reach its end. Claire's mother, Margaret, thanks to better care and a lifted spirit, had slowly begun to regain her health. One late afternoon, she quietly sat by the bakery window, her eyes glistening with tears as she watched Claire bustling among the customers. Thomas would be so proud of you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Claire turned back, took her mother's hand, and smiled brightly through the traces of exhaustion on her face. I did all of this for Dad, and for you too, Mum. Dawson's Delight is our dream. Indeed, Dawson's Delight had become much more than a bakery. It stood as a symbol of unyielding courage in the face of fate, a testament that love can overcome any challenge, and an eternal flame passed down from one generation to the next. In the warm glow of sunset, Claire stood at the bakery's doorstep, gazing at the sky painted in shades of pink and orange. The scent of fresh-baked bread mingled with the gentle spring breeze like a tender whisper from her father, far away. "My daughter, you've made it." And Claire knew, no matter what storms lay ahead, Dawson's delight and her father's spirit would forever remain the fire that warmed her heart and the hearts of everyone who walked through its doors. No one succeeds alone. Kindness, gratitude, and perseverance are never in vain. Claire Dawson's story teaches us an important lesson. No matter how dark the corners life pushes you into, never give up on your dreams. Even when every door seems to close, your determination and kindness will open new doors, brighter and wider than you could ever imagine. Claire didn't just build a bakery. She built a symbol of courage, gratitude, and the continuation of her family's legacy with every ounce of her heart. In life, what truly matters isn't the success that comes easily, but the victories you earn through relentless effort and love for the people beside you. When we live with gratitude and face challenges without backing down, we don't just change our own destiny, but we inspire everyone around us. As I tell this story, I can clearly see Claire's image in all of us on our journey through life. We all have moments when we feel like giving up, and we all face our own Victor Kane trying to hold us back. But if we hold on to our faith, the light will surely find its way to illuminate our path someday. Just like Dawson's delight, the flame her father once ignited has now spread into a source of warmth for countless people passing by. And I believe each of us can become that same flame, lighting up the world around us. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to hit like and help spread this message to even more people. Share your feelings in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And most importantly, make sure to subscribe to Toch Story so you never miss out on more inspiring and heartfelt stories like this one. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be the very first to watch the latest videos we've prepared just for you. See you in the next story on Toch Story, where every video is a flame that warms the heart.